For the return of the Champions League, we're offering 50% off annual subscriptions at The Athletic. See the link in the description to sign up now. The email usually arrives at 4 p.m. on a Monday. Each week, that's when referees find out which Premier League game they'll be officiating. But what factors determine how those decisions are actually made? Well, the process begins 6 weeks in advance, with a complex system that has been put in place by the Professional Game Match Officials Limited, the organisation led by referees chief Mike Riley. It involves Riley and his colleagues keeping a league table, or merit table as they call it, to identify the officials who can be trusted with the most important games. That table is based on an elaborate point system that takes into account every single decision a referee ever makes. And while it's hidden from the outside world, the referees have password access to see where they rank after every round of fixtures. And it's the same for assistant referees too. They know whether they've gone up or down a few places and are acutely aware of their ranking. And the evaluation behind the system is more complicated than presumed too. First, a match delegate, a former player or manager, will put together a report on the referee's performance within a game. The more technical aspect, however, takes place afterwards, when the PGMOL's evaluators receive the match footage and go through every decision. Not just the incidents where the referee penalises someone, but every single time a decision has been made about whether or not to blow their whistle. It takes a long time. A top-flight referee will typically make around 250 decisions per match. Even assistant referees will generally make between 50 and 100. So during the review, points are then awarded or deducted for each one, and each decision is subject to an adjustable tariff, which depends on context. It takes into account whether a decision was easy, difficult, or non-routine, as well as where an incident occurred on the pitch. More points are awarded for a correct free kick decision just outside the penalty area than one on the halfway line. If it is a particularly difficult decision, there are also higher marks. Alternatively, extra points might be deducted for a mistake that directly influences the game. But then it gets even more complicated. Within 24 hours, the referees receive the full evaluation and can appeal if they think any decision has been marked unfairly. A specially convened 3-person panel will then decide through an online process whether points should be added or taken away. It all goes on the merit table, and even then there are plenty of other considerations for the PGMOL to take into account before making decisions. A good example occurred 4 years ago when Anthony Taylor was assigned the first Liverpool-Manchester United match of his career. Taylor was brought up in Wythenshawe, which is on the southern edge of Manchester, and Keith Hackett, formerly the PGMOL chief, described it as grossly unfair to award him such a match. Riley, Hackett's successor, maintained it was the right appointment, and Liverpool took the view that just because Taylor lived closer to Old Trafford than any of Sir Alex Ferguson, Ed Woodward or Wayne Rooney, it did not necessarily mean he was a secret United fan who would award all the key decisions in their favour. Taylor describes himself as a fan of non-league Altrincham, and that now seems to be generally accepted, judging by the lack of attention to his Mancunian roots when he refereed Leeds United's 6-2 defeat of Old Trafford in late December 2020. Michael Oliver, on the other hand, is not allowed to referee Newcastle United because they are the team that he supports, nor will you ever see him taking charge of a Sunderland game. And this is why every referee has to declare where they live, who they support, and any other relevant details for the appointments panel, made up of Riley, ex-linesman Adam Gale-Watts, and former referees Alan Wiley, Mike Jones, and Neil Barry, to factor into the selection process. John Moss, a Sunderland fan, is kept off Newcastle matches for the same reason. Moss is allowed to referee Liverpool, however, even though he was once James Milner's primary school PE teacher. A line has to be drawn somewhere, and Moss could hardly be accused of favouritism, given that he sent Milner off in the Liverpool vs Crystal Palace game 2 seasons ago. But at other times, more complicated issues crop up. When Leicester City and Tottenham Hotspur were competing for the title towards the end of the 2015-16 season, Kevin Friend was removed from a Spurs match to spare him from potential allegations of bias. Friend was affiliated to the Leicestershire and Rutland FA, lived near Leicester, and would sometimes watch games at their King Power Stadium. He is actually a Bristol City fan, having been born there, but it was still deemed too sensitive for him to referee Leicester's direct rivals in the title race. But Riley has to make decisions on a human level too. He will sometimes give a referee a weekend off if there's been a lot of media criticism. At other times, he will deliberately give an under-fire referee another match straight away. In other circumstances, a common-sense approach has been applied. Mark Clattenburg went 6 years without being selected for a game at Goodison Park because of the fallout from a Merseyside derby in 2007, in which he sent off 2 Everton players and made several other calls in Liverpool's favour. Moss knows about this too. He went 20 months without a game at Leicester after they complained about his performance, featuring a red card to Jamie Vardy for diving during a 2-2 draw with West Ham in their title-winning season. All of which helps to explain why the PGMOL's planning meetings looking 6 weeks ahead can last upwards of 3 hours. Then there are follow-up meetings every Monday to go over what has happened at the weekend and, if necessary, make last-minute adjustments. It is a highly complicated process, which has to account for myriad, ever-changing factors. For the return of the Champions League, we're offering 50% off annual subscriptions to The Athletic. We have a week full of brilliant pieces, including a Champions League knockout guide by tactics expert Michael Cox and analytics chief Tom Warville. So for just £2.50 per month, a deal available until the end of the week, you can follow the best journalists writing in-depth pieces about your favourite teams in the Premier League and across several other sports. It really is the best place to read about football online. So come and join us today at The Athletic by visiting theathletic.com/Tifo Football. Thanks for watching today's video.